foreign ministers from the BRICS countries who are meeting in Cape Town. Now, the meeting precedes the BRICS Summit, which takes place in August. The summit has already drawn controversy because of the possible attendance of Russian President Vladimir Putin, the target of an international criminal court arrest warrant. Now, Bulelani Phillip was, of course, at the briefing that we saw a little earlier on in the day this afternoon, of course, watching even what is coming out of this particular gathering. Bulelani, of course, South Africa's foreign policy of the stance of non-alignment is still very much the big talking point. And this afternoon, the ministers briefing the media. What have they had to say?
Well, good afternoon to you guys in the studio and to the viewers at home. Of course, I just want to paint a picture in terms of answering your question. You know, as you come into this exclusive suburb of Camps Bay, there is one of these top hotels that where the gathering is being held. Now, as you make your way in, you'll find that there's quite a lot of security and police that are actually looking after the delegates that are going to be attending this two-day meeting of the BRICS foreign ministers. But in the same road again, you got some pro-Ukraine supporters, a handful of them who had actually come here to protest, against the invasion of Ukraine by the Russians. And they've tried to say that the leaders that will be discussing anything related to the war in Ukraine, they must bear in mind that the Ukrainians are opposed to the invasion by Russia, and they are calling on the leaders here to stop President Vladimir Putin from coming into South Africa. They actually want South Africa to actually, put him away and not have any relations with him. But of course, as you've said, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperations, Dr. Naledi Pandor, was actually cornered on this particular issue, and it's one of the talking points here, at least amongst the journalists. And when she was asked whether South Africa would allow President Putin to come to South Africa, she says, at least for now, there are negotiations, and there is also some research that's being done in terms of checking how the law can be used to actually allow him to come here. But at this stage, there still has been no determination. There has been a committee that has been set up, which has been headed by Deputy President Paul Mashatile, that is actually looking at all of these legal instruments that South Africa wants to consider first before they come to any determination. And of course, we do not know as to at this stage when a determination will be made. But what we do know from the Minister Naledi Pandor is that President Cyril Ramaphosa will be the one who makes that announcement. But for now, what she's saying is that an invitation has been sent to President Vladimir Putin, and at this stage, we do not know whether he will honor that invitation or not. But again, you know that there has been some developments within South Africa again, where the Democratic Alliance has actually approached the courts to try and force the South African government to actually execute that arrest warrant that has been given against President Putin. But of course, that legal battle is still ongoing. We do not know which way it's going to go. But as things stand now, South Africa is still investigating the matter, and no decision has been taken so far.
And Bulelani, one of the other things, of course, we heard this afternoon when you were being asked as journalists to go and enjoy the scenery outside, is that the ministers are now having their own, of course, meeting that is currently taking place. And a lot of talk around, the deepening of the ties, the possible expansion of this particular group. Any idea what they're talking about, and any idea when are we going to see that press briefing that will give us a sense of what was being discussed?
Well, I can say that there's about 4 themes that these foreign ministers will be talking over. The first one is to see how these 5 countries can actually strengthen the institutional development of the BRICS countries. And the second one is also to make sure that they also, strengthen this new BRICS bank, which is a development bank. And the third issue is they want to actually see the global politics, how they are, favoring some of the rich countries, and also, they also wanted the reforms in some of the multilateral institutions, like the United Security Council. So those are some of the issues that will be discussed at a high level, of course. And the last issue that the foreign ministers will be discussing is actually the issue of the preparation of this BRICS Summit that will be held here in South Africa, in Johannesburg in August. And I suppose maybe one of the talking points there again is that these 5 countries will have to actually give an input in terms of how they see this issue of President Putin unfolding, and perhaps maybe they can give advice to South Africa in terms of how to handle these matters. But those are some of the political issues that these 5 countries are going to be discussing over. But at another level, I mean, the issues of trade cooperation are on top of the agenda. The issues of investment are on top of the agenda. Sharing skills development programs on the agenda, as well as sharing technology in terms of ensuring that all of these countries, and the key word here is that they mutually benefit from this agreement. And they are saying that part of the reforms that they've actually been trying to engage on is to ensure that globally is that there is no few countries that make a determination of a many countries in the world. Is that there must be a fair and equitable system, both politically and economically, so that these countries and the rest of the world can deal with the issues of poverty, inequality, and that there must be more development in the world.